Okay, welcome everyone to the Keshe Plasma Reactor group. Once again here on a Wednesday morning or Tuesday night, depending where you happen to be on this lovely planet. It's Wednesday, September 11th, 2019 in local Italian time and most parts of the planet, let's say. And this is the Keshe Plasma Reactor group. My name is Rick Crammond, and doing this group for several years now, undergoing transformations as we go along, and different topics and different ideas and concepts get discussed here depending on the particular flavor of the day. So, what flavor do we have today, ladies and or gentlemen, depending? Anybody have anything they would like to
Strawberry Fields Forever.
Strawberry Fields Forever. Beatles. What's the connection there, John?
Well, you were asking for a flavor.
Oh, okay. I got it. Of course.
And fields as in the field state.
Yeah, nice. I didn't quite get that one either. I guess I'm a little slow tonight. But you guys seem bang on, so keep going. How can we develop that out? Strawberry fields. That would indicate that the fields that you feel have a particular quality related to strawberries. Speaking of which, strawberries are the first, I think it's the first fruit I've grown this year. I have a little pot with some strawberry plant in it, and it's produced, well, several strawberries so far, and it has several on it now and several more coming along. So it's interesting to note, while we're on the topic of strawberries, that apparently they've chosen strawberries to be the plant of choice for space, to grow in space. They being the NASA scientists or someone along those lines. I saw a notice about that recently. So probably on the space station, I guess they do grow lettuce and so on. Apparently strawberries would be a good thing to grow, because they figure that it produces the best, the greatest amount of edible material for the time and space required and so on. And space is important in space. Here you are out in space and you don't have enough space to put your stuff. It seems like a strange conundrum. But there is a deep freeze when you just leave things outside.
On the last workshop with Mr. Keshe, he said to refer back to the health teachings. One of them was specifically about the brain. Do you remember, Rick? Was there a health teaching? I saw the lungs, there's the bones, the face, the skull, I think.
Yeah, it may be in the skull. I'm not sure. I think it was number 8 that Jalal mentioned in a post just yesterday. I'm not sure if I could find it again. There's
okay. No, I was just
dozens of posts, but let me just check briefly here and see.
He's talking about understanding the structure. of the brain.
Right.
Communication. And travel too, I think, but apparently I looked at the face and there's a lot of parts I wasn't even aware of, and different shapes and different functions.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's a whole world. Mr. Keshe opens up in almost every topic of a dimension that we didn't even know was there.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see where that is, and I am not clear. It was just in passing. I noticed that he had a post about that. I believe it was the 8th. What's the 8th, the topic for the 8th one? Do you know?
I don't, but I saw his post and it wasn't the brain, I think. That wasn't the one. But we'll find it eventually. But I thought that all the health teachings were officially removed from the website of the Keshe Foundation. But you could still find them on YouTube.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think I'm confused. I think I'm thinking about the kids workshop. I think it was actually, no, it couldn't have been the kids workshop, because that wouldn't, it must have been the health workshop you mentioned.
Right, because I thought the foundation had taken off.
Yeah, I believe they are removed, actually. So,
and Mr. Keshe was referring to them, so I didn't know if he was aware they were removed, or like they're in other places on the YouTube that people have on their own website, I guess.
Yeah, some of them are not quite legit and so on. Mr. Keshe wanted to remove the health inferences and so on, so there wouldn't be.
How would we review it unless it's we find it in bits and pieces around in different teachings? And that's where that indexing would be really great.
Yeah, good question. I'm not sure. Maybe Jalal would have if he comes in later, maybe he'll have shed some light on that. Just trying to see what will happen when I.
But that was a short workshop, but
I'll say
really,
I think it's the shortest one we've ever had.
And we're turning directions in a way, and more into the soul dimension, I think, which will be revealed in these upcoming workshops. That I think he's going to stop at 300, right?
Well, he seemed to indicate that, and that was my feeling, that it would be at that point as well.
No, but the idea of the health teachings be connected to travel.
Well, it was always interconnected, all the teachings. Even Elia, when she was discussing the health teachings, she was always talking in terms of the reactor combinations inside the body, and the ganses and nano and so on.
I know he really gave a positive plug for the knowledge seekers by saying, that the nanotechnology is a dinosaur now, way past that. And
yeah, that was interesting.
Knowledge. Yeah, very, very.
That's the prime area of growth right now, in the area of industry and science is in nanotechnology. That's where all the money's at, and all the grants and the research and all that kind of thing. They're making amazing discoveries and all that. on
And
that
called
nano
it a
level.
he called it a dinosaur.
Right. So
26 million years.
they have all this nano knowledge now, and then it'll take them another decade or two to get through to make use of that, make it into materials that are truly usable, the GANs type materials, and then they'll spend another decade on that and discover the plasma and so on and so forth. But I think it's all coming together in a way. Even in the nano world, they're discovering plasma because they keep looking smaller and smaller, and things are no longer looking like particles and matter level anymore. And they're forced to conceive of field effects and the plasmatic effects and light effects and all kinds of things that interact on that beyond nano level.
Right. And then he touched on a little bit about this 3D storage that they're going to
Yes, the cube rather
introducing.
than the chip. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we see some movement in the world of science along those lines. I think he even mentioned that you're supposed to get together with a large company starting with H in the next couple of weeks or something to work out some of the details about the new cube technology.
Right. He said at this point it wasn't, it was more appropriate to work with adults that understand this than children. I think he was talking in the computer field. Can we mention that company, Rick? Or it was mentioned, Huawei?
Yeah, I guess so. I was kind of keeping it secret, but it isn't really because it was mentioned, which is a big deal in the country I'm in Canada, seeing that we extracted the daughter of the head of Hawaii, and are holding her for extradition to the U.S. Meanwhile, what are the riots in Hong Kong are about extradition. They don't want extradition, and the Chinese do now. The world is so crazy and mixed up, and there seems to be like what do you call it, ironies and just extreme. It's got to be humor because it's so extreme the way the comments are going. Like we have this, Trump calls a peace meeting with the Taliban, and the Taliban blows up a bomb, and then he calls off the meeting, and then same thing with North Korea. They want a nuclear deal, and the same day they show off their multi-rocket launch pad yesterday. So we're living in a kind of a strange world where words and the actions are almost opposite sometimes. In fact, exact opposites in a lot of examples. And it's quite interesting to see how the countries in particular get represented and reveal themselves. They kind of they can't help but reveal all their deals and what's going on and so on. It just seems like kind of a clown circus in a way, to me anyway. Maybe other people have different points of view, but it's a great time to be alive in many ways because we're able to witness all the weirdness that's going on in the world. because we're getting reports from all over the world, nearly live in real time, and we can feel them besides.
Yeah, I think this idea of sensing, or I don't know if that's feeling or not, but that's the direction we're heading into, more of a sensing of the interaction, feeling on the soul level rather than with the physicality dimension in these
Okay.
coming things and so on. And this is what it's all been leading to.
Okay, well, let's explore that a bit, maybe. Hello, and who is that?
It's Shandor.
Shandor. Hi, Shandor.
Feel slightly better than earlier, so I can talk better a bit, not too much, of course. You know a saying, God's mill grinds slowly. It refers to the action of intention, like with the plasma interactions. Remember those magnets demonstration when you moved just one and several magnets flipped and moved. It takes time, but the intention for world peace works. You see now one big warmonger is just giving up, or he's getting fired, it's not clear. You know, the big mustache from America.
Mr. Bolton, yes. And that was kind of a surprise to many people, especially him, probably.
He said, let's attack North Korea. Trump said, no, let's negotiate. And he said, let's invade, let's give a hit to Iran. Trump followed, but in minutes, he stopped the action. It remained to negotiation part. And so completely different approach. So
Yeah.
you know who was the aggressive one. Slowly, everything is cleaning up. Slowly.
Possibly, but I wonder who comes in behind him. Maybe it's somebody worse. Maybe he wanted to get Bolton out of the way so he could do some real damage. Anyway, we will see. It's the miracles seem to be happening daily on the world stage, so you never know what's going to happen, really. Great fun.
You know the experience, then you desire something so much that finally you forget about your desire. And in the moment when you forgotten, in the moment you just get plenty of the thing which you desired, but later when you forgot about it. I think it was an invitee from the third to Keshe Foundation once in Italy who shares the same experience when her wife was desiring, I don't remember, suitcases or umbrella and so on, and were not able to find the desired model, and later they got an avalanche, too many. Same couple of years ago, here in my area, ginger was almost unknown except of Chinese and Japanese and Korean restaurants. So it was very hard to procure. And I just decided why a vegetable shop does not keep it. And now you have it everywhere. Every supermarket, mini market, and even the vegetable shop, which is specialized mainly in local products, all have ginger. Just it took 2 years, as far as I remember. Things like that happen. Just usually we forgot our desire when it appears. So sometimes we desire something, and when we get it, we already forgot. But sometimes we can remember that it was actually our desire which happens to us. This in terms of karma. There is no karma, it's just our own wishes and desires. Sorry, I finished with this part. Keep silence.
Okay, thank you, Shandor. Good to hear from you.
Yes, very good.
Anybody have any comments on that or otherwise?
Well, it could be showing the other world leaders that this Bolton guy, he never really liked the diplomatic solution. He always wants to take the gloves off and have a fight in the physicality.
Yeah.
I know President Trump had said a month or so ago that this guy, if it was up to him, we'd be fighting everyone. So I
Shoot
think the
first,
signal,
ask questions later kind of deal.
yeah. So I think the signaling in the writing was there, and that's a good signal that he's gone.
Yeah, he's been around a long time in the as an
Bush,
advisor.
yeah,
I
yeah.
think for like 2 or 3 decades now. So yes, well,
Let's negotiate. Let's make a deal, and more sanctions.
yeah, well, that's
We will be friends. So we start with increasing the number of sanctions.
yeah.
Very fun.
Yeah, it's a strange way of diplomacy, but I guess people are kind of getting used to that in the world now from that person. But well, we just have to wait and see. There's good things and there's bad things. All depends on your perspective of the situation, I suppose.
Well, Syria, Mr. Keshe said, is the last war, and that was our intentions. So this is what we've been seeing, and this is the indication. This is, I see less turmoil going on now, even though there's plenty in the background in many of these little tiny wars and conflicts, but the major ones are over. And that has to be our attention.
Yeah, there are some skirmishes, not really wars.
Right.
You see, like there are some local kings and dictators in some African country, and they always, since thousands of years, used to quarrel each other, and they get more modern weapons, so they kill more. But that's not that style of. And remember Togo case. It was almost war, almost. But it was an action with common intention and somebody talking to the right persons. And it was totally roots. Because how you can make a war? It's like if you are in a pub full of drunk people and you are the weakest, the thinnest, and you want to eliminate your competition. What you do? You go to the dumbest, stupidest, and biggest, strongest guy who is most drunk, and you just buy him a drink and say, "Do you see that guy there? Do you know what he told about your mother?" This kind of parts. And the source remains hidden always. That's the same way how big wars are starting, always creating artificial conflict where it should not be, and supplying weapons preferably to both parties.
Yeah, we see like the U.S. kind of got a little embarrassed, or at least in Afghanistan last few days, they had the big peace plan with the Taliban and so on, and they're supposed to get the Afghan government and Taliban together with the US, and they would all work things out and so on. But of course, with the Taliban setting off a bomb on the day before they were supposed to arrive at Camp David, it got canceled by Trump, which you think, okay, well, that could have been a peace, and it got canceled by Trump. But the parties involved apparently are relieved that the US is pulling out of that process, because now they can deal with each other directly and work out a plan between themselves. So it actually actually may have been a beneficial move to pull out of the whole peace process in terms of the greater peace that may come out of it. So we will see. Things change by the day, and you never know what's going to happen. Anyway.
Right. And then he went in on that workshop and he mentioned about the plants, about never mind putting the GANs in the soil or so on, but he was talking about elevating the soul of the plant, which when the soul of the plant is elevated, it'll be so happy that it produces, you know, so much more fruit or vegetables or whatever to show how happy it is. He said you would feed the soul of the plant to the soul of the plant. So that's
I missed that part. He said he would feed, you said, the soul of the plant to the soul of the plant. Is that what you said?
correct.
Wow, that's an interesting idea. What did you get from that sentence? What did that mean to you?
Well, by elevating up the soul. It's not the GANs so much, and maybe that's creating the conditions for the soul. But once the soul is elevated, it shows its beauty, he said, in the physicality, and it gives so much more to say thank you for elevating my soul. So got to work through it a little bit, but we know that the vertical people have souls and the horizontal people have souls, and even the stones have souls.
And that's why some people have what's called a green thumb. Maybe they connect
Exactly, yeah.
Soul to the soul of the plant.
This speaking to the plants, this elevating the plants, apparently they're quite receptive to it.
Mm-hmm. I was part of a garden club for a couple of years where the women in particular, there's only a couple of us guys anyway, but there was 3 or 4 women, and they did a blessing of the garden before it was planted. And they would have a procedure with each seed or plant that got planted, there would be a little a blessing procedure as well, with, you know, gratitude and giving to these, you know, to protect and allow the growth of these beings and so on and so forth. And part of it too was to use, I think it's one of the ancient techniques of gardening probably, but when you make a hole in the ground and put the seed in, you make a hole and then you spit into the hole and then put the seed in, cover it up and so on. That provides some moisture obviously, but more importantly, it's part of your GAN's DNA that goes into that root structure and gets absorbed by the plant, and actually part of your DNA probably ends up being, you know, incorporated as part of the plant. I'm not sure how that works exactly, but I'm sure there's a process there. There's definitely be a connection from, you know, your fields directly to the fields, literally the fields of the garden.
It works like this, Rick. Man has got a lot to learn.
Yeah.
There's another technique that you put the seeds under your tongue for 2 or 3 minutes.
Yeah.
That's nice for a small garden. But how would you proceed for 3, 4 hectares?
Yeah, you have to have a lineup of people that salivate a lot. You'd have to hire people according to how much they drool. I don't know. Maybe there's a market for that somewhere.
That remembers me of a funny caricature from the 50s or 60s when virusologists and microbiologists discovered lysozyme, an enzyme which is naturally in saliva and in tears. which are killing bacteria and viruses. It's a natural antibiotic, antivirotic, lysosine. And it was a caricature in one of these, maybe in Lancet, some medical magazines, with doctors beating up with a stick children and collecting their tears. So we should not go to extremes.
Yeah, there you go.
Sorry for unrelated memories. Just
Well, it's good to throw a little humor in once in a while, and not that beating, the images of kids being beat is humor. What if they were being paid to be beat and they were willingly being beat for their tears that were actually saving other people, and they knew that, and they were willing to take a little abuse and get paid for it well, and use their tears for curing maybe one of their friends that had some incurable disease.
think about
So,
dogs licking the wounds of their owners in case of need, and healing very bad. You think his dog's mouth is full of bacteria. Yes, but it has lysosine, which is also killing certain bacteria and viruses.
mhm.
You can read old legends about someone left on a battlefield and unconscious and dog licking its wounds. Interesting. Anyway, now we trust betadine.
It'd be interesting because Mr. Keshe said that some people, women in particular, can call the tears upon demand because they have more control of their emotion or something. And then what Sander was saying about spanking somebody with a stick or hitting them to get the tears, I wonder if the strength of the tears or what was in those tears could be way different. I mean, there's no way to tell right now.
Definitely it's different. Organism produces what is needed when it's needed for certain purpose, and composition may change.
Such as the tears from an onion would be different than the tears from an emotional outburst of some sort. I'm sure if you were to look into it.
There was an opposite.
Yes.
There was an opposite direction of human emanations, biological emanations. My mother, who made her schools in the 50s, in high school in the 50s, or college or whatever was in that time, Lyceum was its name, told about a biology professor, told them a story. Now I cannot find the source, so I cannot say it's an urban legend or it was a truth, or anyway, it was told once upon a time by a teacher to her students, or his students, that scientists collected the breath of people in vials. So what you are breathing out with open mouth, and from this outbreath of the angry people, he could isolate a poison which is stronger than the snake's poison. So that's why the body always produces, when it's needed, what it is needed for a certain purpose. And in anger, intention is to stop attack, to don't become an effect of the external dangers.
So
it's not, anger is not attacking, that's hostility. It's a different motion.
So you're saying that in the breath of this person that was angry were these toxic materials?
Yes, but it's something from 19th century, some old.
Oh, okay. I see.
I cannot find the
That-
source. It's methodology. It's
It
no
wasn't-
scientific paper. It's take it like an urban legend, but maybe some see it is true.
Right. Does make complete sense, actually.
Yeah, you know, sometimes angry person has such a bad intention that would choke the other person in 1 spoon of water. Drown, sorry, not choked. We have a saying in Hungarian language is she would like to drown her in 1 tablespoon of water. So angry. So that's a bad intention.
Never heard that before.
So learn how to control your emotions and you will feel better and your environment will feel much better.
Well, that's a good point.
And it's not so difficult. Every monk is able to be at control over his emotions.
Yes, but can he control them when he goes to town? That's the question.
Why they stay
It's easy
isolated?
in the monastery with no distractions and no pretty ladies running around and no, all the things of distraction that are offered in the big city compared to being off in this monastery somewhere.
Probably not in Las Vegas.
The monastery of Las Vegas.
No, in Macau.
Actually, you can create your own monastery, even in a casino. And I've done that before. Used to do casino tours as a sacred space and treat it as a group, as a sacred space. And it's way different than going there to spend money and gamble. Anyway, Jedi talks about green dragon's breath. Well, maybe we should sort of move away from weapons and poisons and all that toxic stuff and create a new topic to bounce off of here. Watchful Eye mentions in the live stream, it's difficult not to be fooled by the fake news mainstream media, Rick. And he says something about creating a positive field by intentions. And don't forget, we are plasma generators ourselves. Plasma generators. Okay, has anybody got anything they've been experimenting with their plasma generators on any level? Johnny says I can send some pictures from the Oasis. Well, that would be nice if you want to do that, Johnny.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
John, ¿me puedes ayudar para traducir, por favor?
Ningún problema. He's asked me to translate.
Quería presentar algunas fotos del oasis y compartir la pantalla.
He would like to show us some pictures and share his page.
Ok. ¿Me escucha bien?
Perfectamente. We can listen to you perfectly.
Se puede ver, ¿sí?
We can see, yes.
Ok, thank you.
What a beauty. It's not similar to the hybrids from the shop. It looks
Con
natural.
tomates. ¿El otro era zapallitos o tomates?
Es berenjena.
Ajá.
Quería presentar algunas fotos del oasis y lo que ha dicho el señor Keshe el jueves pasado con lo del regalar a las semillas el plasma y el plasma nos regala a nosotros para elevar el alma.
He's mentioning that Mr. Keshe had mentioned that we give plasma to the seeds and the seeds give us back the plasma so they can interact and give us a pleasure of all the good nature in them.
Hemos seguido experimentar con solo los campos sin echar aquaplasma, solo el campo, los campos del GANS.
He's decided to experiment not with the plasma water, but just with the fields. And this is what the results he's getting.
Y sí que es verdad, todos los que comen un tomate no son muy grandes.
And these tomatoes are not all that big.
Pero no necesitan mucho y le dan alegría.
But they give you joyfulness.
Y vamos a ver un poquito adelante. Empiezan a salir sin sembrar.
These
Y
plants,
estamos...
these
adelante.
plants are growing without any seeds. They just appear.
Y estamos en el mes de septiembre y aquí por la noche es frío.
And we're in the middle of September and it's here at night time. It's pretty cold.
Y empiezan a salir plantas sin sembrar.
And new plants are cropping up without being seeded.
Y es muy interesante lo que pasan con las hojas, como se puede ver aquí.
And it's very interesting to watch what happens with the leaves, as you can see here.
La mayoría piensan que esa es una patología o algún insecto que come las hojas.
Many think these are eaten up by insects.
Intenta echar algunas cosas para matar las insectas y sacar las plantas que están así.
We have tried using some pesticides to see if there were some insects eating these leaves.
Pero si los dejamos en paz, no pasa nada porque la planta sigue su vida.
But if we don't bother the plant, we don't give it any pesticide, it will continue its life and it won't harm it.
Y quería, bueno, ya tenemos aquí en Rumanía casi todos ya no tienen tomates afuera,
Here in
afuera
Romania,
del invernadero.
yeah, here in Romania, outside you can't have any tomato crops right now, and this is what we are receiving.
Y aquí tenemos un tipo de, se llama esponja natural.
And here we got the natural sponges. Es como una berenjena grande, ¿no?
Sí.
Yeah.
No, John, como un pepino.
Sí. Well, acá en Misiones es más grande. This is like a cucumber. It's a natural sponge. I mentioned that here in where I live, they're much bigger.
What do you mean a natural sponge? You mean you can actually dry it out and use it like a sponge?
Exactly, yes. It's very nice. It's smooth on your skin. It's not. It's a bit more abrasive than the plastic sponge, but it doesn't harm you at all. It's fantastic.
Ese año lo vamos a utilizar con plasma.
Qué bien. And this year we're gonna use plasma on them. Yo uso esas esponjas para bañarme. I use these sponges for washing. They're very good.
Sí, y very, very good. Y lo que quería decir es que en la zona de montaña, en la zona, aquí nunca fue cultivado algo parecido.
And here in the mountainous region, this has never been cultivated, and we're getting good results here.
Y aquí es casi como hay otra temporada, otro año tiempo.
And right now, it's like as if we had a new springtime here, the way the plants are reacting. Es increíble cómo algunos cambian de color antes que los otros, ¿no?
Sí, es maravilloso.
It's strange how some of the fruits change their color before the others.
Y aquí creo que todos sabéis qué es eso.
Sí, el tata Dios.
Sí, y es la primera vez que he visto eso en la zona.
Uh-huh. This is the first time we've seen these grasshoppers here in this zone.
Tenemos las tomates y algunas de, bueno, otras plantas que parecen que ahora empieza la primavera.
And here the tomatoes are growing as if it were springtime.
Aquí es el ajo,
This is garlic.
que es doble de como era el año pasado.
And en tamaño,
Sí,
this garlic is about double the size of the garlic we had last year.
y como se puede ver, la tierra está muy seca.
And as we can see here, the earth is pretty dry.
No ha llovido de mucho tiempo,
It hasn't rained for quite a while.
pero no pasa nada con el ajo y con todo lo que tenemos.
But the garlic is just growing like anything.
Y
Unseen.
esas semillas, aquí en la derecha son las semillas
These are the seeds for the garlic on our right.
y algunas de ellas, como se puede ver aquí, es como aquí, en la izquierda. Arriba como abajo.
No interpreto lo que me quiere decir ahí.
Quiero decir que algunas de las semillas son iguales.
En
Como
en tamaño.
Sí.
And here we can see some of the seeds are as big as the garlic itself.
Y hay también pequeñas, es como caen en el suelo y empieza a crecer otra vez.
And this is how they fall on the ground and they start growing again.
Ese tipo de semilla he llevado también en el Oasis Provence.
I've also taken these seeds over to the Provence oasis.
Pero si cuando hemos comprobado, lo que está arriba es más fuerte de lo que está abajo, como aroma.
We have realized that what grows up on top of the ground has a stronger odor than the one down below.
Lo que es diferente de los vecinos.
And what is different to our neighbors,
mañana por la mañana aparece como el agua en las hojas de las plantas.
Every morning, the dew sort of concentrates itself on the leaves of the plants.
Y se quedan hasta casi al mediodía.
And that humidity remains there until about midday.
En las otras zonas las plantas ya están casi secas.
And en tus vecinos.
Sí,
And our neighbors' plants are practically dry. And we have all the humidity on our plants.
sí. Y aquí parece que ya no hay anotimpos. No hay
qué?
invierno, no hay invierno, no hay otoño.
It looks as if we haven't got any more seasons here. It's all springtime.
Aquí es la cebolla que hemos recogido.
These are the onions we have collected.
Y como se puede ver en la derecha,
And as we can see on our right,
está fuera de la tierra, no dentro.
and they come up on top of the earth, not underneath.
Y solo tuvimos que sacarlo, nada más. Sin
And-
utilizar alguna herramienta.
And we just had to pick them off the ground. We didn't have to use any tools.
Aquí son todo tipo de, ¿cómo se llama eso, John?
Zapallo o melón?
Zapallo.
Yeah, this is what zapallo? No me acuerdo ahora qué es en inglés.
Pumpkin or squash?
Exactly, yeah, exactly. Pumpkin.
Ya, ya. Aquí es un experimento que he hecho con tomates que fueron puestos al fin de
Maceta.
agosto.
These are new experiments I've done with tomatoes, which have been planted end of August.
Fueron puestos eso es un cubo de 5 litros.
This is a 5-liter bucket.
Si en la tierra son probetas con CO2 aquí abajo.
And I put small vials with the CO2 cans.
Sin echar agua.
¿Con agua de gans o gans?
Aquí es el gas, un poquito de gas con el agua del reactor.
Yeah, in the vials we have some water cans with a bit of gans in them.
That'd be vials. Vials, John, is normally the English for that. At least
Yes, that's what I mentioned. Yeah,
Thank
I said vials or vial.
vials, yeah, but vials is.
Yeah, you're right there. Yeah.
Y
Haven't
como se
used
puede ver, en cada cubo hemos puesto 2 probetas con CO2.
In each bucket we've put a couple of seeds of plants.
Esos son para un experimento en las escuelas con los niños.
And these are small experiments we have made for the kids at school.
Bueno, los niños de todas las edades.
Kids of all ages.
Donde se puede ver que no las plantas, si utilizamos los campos, no necesita agua.
And the plants which are grown in the fields, in the mangrove fields, don't need any water. Sí, eso lo hemos experimentado acá también. Un amigo lo ha hecho y quedó totalmente loco con el experimento. I've mentioned a friend of mine has done the same experiment and he's just gone round the bend. He couldn't believe it. I had him here every 12 hours saying, what else can we do this? This is fantastic.
Sí, la tierra, si lo compruebas, está muy, muy seca.
Sí, acá lo que hemos logrado es que la tierra no se apelotona, no se queda dura, sino que queda bien esponjosa.
Sí, está seca, pero esponjosa.
Yeah, what we realized here is that the earth, without any water, it doesn't get as hard as normally it would get. It remains spongy but dry. Pero se
Aquí
colecta toda la humedad se colecta en las hojas.
Sí.
The humidity sort of seeds itself on the leaves of the plants.
No, could Johnny explain, is that due to his growing technique with having other plants around and weeds and other things as part of the whole structure? Or
Look.
is it something else with the GANs, or what is it that makes it retain the moisture that way?
Rick pregunta cómo explicás de que la humedad aparezca en las hojas, debido a la forma que vos haces el oasis o por la técnica de los campos de McGrath.
Hemos hecho los infinitos.
Ah, cierto. He has put many infinite copper nano-coated
Yes,
gadgets all
lo
over.
hemos puesto no muy arriba, a una altura de 1,5 metros.
We have put these infinites about 1.5 meters off the ground.
Porque
in
no
different
tenemos,
places.
sí, no tenemos árboles que están muy para ponerlo más alto.
We haven't got any trees to hang them up further up.
Y abajo, en el suelo, hemos puesto cubetas con gas.
And down below, we have put some vials with Gans water.
Pero el agua que se hacen es por los campos McGrath de las plantas.
Yeah, what I have detected is that the humidity on the leaves comes from the McGrath fields the different plants generate.
Como no sacamos ninguna planta,
As we don't take away any plants,
si donde está no hay muchas plantas ponemos paja, como se puede ver aquí.
and where we haven't got many plants, we add some straw, a dry straw between them.
Interactuando entre ellos, están produciendo lo que necesitan.
And this straw interacts with the green plants and they get what they need.
Aquí tenemos cebolla pequeña
These are small onions
que por la primera vez ha salido de las semillas de cebolla.
which for the first time have come from the seeds of the onions.
Normalmente todo el mundo compra eso para sembrarlo, para hacer la cebolla grande.
Normally people buy these seeds to make the big onions. Pero
Nosotros-
¿y qué? ¿Vos es la misma semilla, la cebolla chiquita esta, o la semilla está dentro de la cebolla?
No, John, aquí eso es pequeña.
Sí, sí, se ve.
Ha
Pero lo
ha salido de las semillas que son muy pequeñas.
Uh-huh. These small onions have started from the seed that are inside the onions, which are very, very small.
Normalmente eso se compra en la primavera y se sembra en la tierra.
Normally, you buy these small seeds in springtime and you plant them. Y
Pero
esto lo has
como-
hecho en otoño.
Sí,
And we've done this in autumn.
y si como han caído las semillas en la tierra, ha salido, tenemos cebolla grande, tenemos cebolla pequeña y otra verde.
Uh-huh. And these seeds have fallen onto the earth, and we've had big, small, and green onions all together.
Vamos a venir con otras fotos más. Aquí, bueno, ya creo que se van a repetir algunas fotos.
¿Esto es papa?
¿Cuál?
La planta anterior, esa verde con flores blancas.
No, no es papa. Es
Ajá.
otra.
Sí, pues la papa creo que tiene una flor similar, ¿no? Aunque
Sí.
hace como 40 años que no he visto la flor de papa o más.
Ah,
60.
sí. Wow, ¿pero por qué?
porque no, cuando era chico yo estaba en el campo, pero hace años que no estoy más en el campo donde se ha cultivado papa. I've asked him if this is potato plant because I haven't seen the potato plant for over 60 years. He couldn't believe I haven't seen potato plants. I haven't been around and where potatoes are planted.
Otra cosa que quería decir, la tierra que tenemos es de ese color negro.
Sí, no parece muy fértil, digamos, ¿no?
Sí, y aquí tiene ese color, pero wow.
We got different colors or different types of earth here, black and brown.
Y otra cosa que quería decir, los vecinos están trabajando con tractores
And our neighbors are working with tractors,
y nosotros no lo hacemos de mucho tiempo.
and we haven't used tractors for ages.
Y ha pasado una cosa muy rara.
And something funny has arisen.
Nuestra tierra tiene 60 centímetros más de altura de como los otros.
De fertilidad.
No, de altura. Los que trabajan con los tractores parece que la tierra baja.
Uh-huh. Our earth, the level of our earth seems as if it were 2 feet above our neighbor's land. Their land sort of squashes down and ours grows up.
Y nosotros como no trabajamos con nada,
Sí, solo usas la paja arriba de la tierra, ¿no?
¿sí?
And as we don't toil the earth, we only cover the earth with old straw.
Es como la tierra parece que crece.
It looks as if our earth here sort of grows up.
I think you meant that he doesn't till the earth, not toil
Exactly.
it.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Exactly. Till. Yeah.
Just want to get it clear in case someone ever transcribes these workshops.
Yeah.
Eso quería presentar
Well,
y agradecer.
This is what I wanted to present to you, and
Well,
thank you for.
Very much, Johnny, and John too, for the translating. I thought it was very interesting about the last part about the neighbor's land seems to be like shrinking or lowering, and Gianni's is rising. So in a way, Gianni's land is elevating, where the other land, if you think about it, especially driving a tractor over it and so on, you're basically compressing the soil and compressing the land and just putting more pressure on it, and that would be more difficult for the roots to penetrate and disrupts the soil and all those sorts of things. So very interesting technique, Gianni, and obviously the results speak for themselves.
What I can add is what we've watched here is I've got a friend who has been using the Gans water, spraying it on green tea, the yerba mate, the plants, for 2 years now. And this year, with the funny weather we have had, normally they lose their leaves, and his crops haven't lost a single leaf. And that's what we cultivate to make the yerba mate. And so he's very pleased with what he's managed to do with the Gans water.
Well, that's interesting. And that obviously would have enormous benefits to that industry or other similar industries that.
Yes, but it's just like the tea. You cultivate the leaves and you've got to dry them and process them. And if all the leaves fall off the tree, you've had it. You've got no crop.
And they normally cut the leaves off when they're green or not. They don't wait until it starts to dry out.
No,
first or
exactly.
whatever.
No, these are trees, and the leaves don't dry at all. The plants are very sensitive to changes of weather, but with the GANS water, with just spraying them with the spraying machines, they haven't lost a single leaf. And you sort of take the leaves off the plants with it by hand. You sort of put your fist around the different small branches and tear off all the leaves off to the end of the branch. And that's what it goes into a drying process, just like the tea, with hot air and well.
And then normally that branch would start growing back again. Little leaves would start.
Yes, well,
Yeah.
many of the branches, the small branches are also broken off, and they're broken up also. You always got a bit of a small branches in this tea, not like the normal tea we drink,
Right.
the Hindu or British tea. You only got the leaves, which are curled up in a special process. This yerba mate, no, it's you break up the leaves, but not as small as the normal tea, and you also leave a bit of small bits of trunk.
Twigs. Twigs. I think
Exactly.
they
Yeah.
call them.
Yeah. Exactly.
John,
gives it
quería
a-
decir otra cosa.
Sí, adelante.
Las plantas, las hierbas que se llaman, las plantas que se llaman medicinales, hemos regalado lavanda, menta y otros tipos, muchos tipos de plantas. Siempre regalamos.
We are producing a lot of medicinal plants, and we always give them away.
Y los que lo utilizan dicen que son muy, muy concentradas.
And the people that use these plants say they're very strong, they're very concentrated in their results.
Y me preguntan qué hacemos y cómo hacemos podemos lograr eso.
And they want to know how is it we manage to have these plants and how do we do it.
Y otra vez me acordó que ha dicho el señor Keshe.
And I remember how Mr. Keshe has mentioned
En el jueves pasado,
last Thursday,
si alimentamos la semilla con los campos, con el plasma,
that if we feed the seed with the plasma fields,
elevando el alma,
elevating their souls,
me ayuda a elevar nuestra alma.
they help to elevate our souls.
Y si estáis de acuerdo, tengo otras fotos con el oasis de Nico, el segundo oasis de Petrila.
And if you agree, I've got some more pictures from the second oasis we have here in Petrila.
Son 6 o 7 fotos.
I got.
John?
Yes, go ahead.
John, before you move on, would you ask Gianni, gracias Gianni, que paso? Can you ask him how he prepares his vials? What he's seen in different ganses in the vials? I noticed he pushed them into the 5-liter pots, right?
Yeah. Mark quiere saber cómo es que preparas esos pequeños envases con los GANs o el agua de GANs para poner dentro de esos macetones.
Recojo la tierra, lo pongo en el cubo y
Sí.
luego las plantas. Y
después agregas ese pequeño envase.
las probetas con el GANS.
Yes, he gets these buckets and fills them up with earth, and then he just puts the seeds and just puts the vials in the earth with GANS water and a bit of GANS.
What is he using? CO2.
What kind of GANs?
¿Qué tipo de gases usas?
El CO2,
El CO2 y el óxido de zinc, me imagino.
cierto.
Sí,
Siempre
yo,
cuando hacemos el CO2 hay un poquito
exacto.
de ZNO.
Yeah, the two basic ones, CO2 and zinc oxide.
Pero utilizo el CO2 que lo estamos haciendo aquí con el sal de potasio.
We're using the CO2 GANs made with
Potasio, magnesio.
potassium and magnesium salts
Por
and the
ejemplo,
nanocoating.
utilizo en la Z un CO2 con magnesio y CO2 con normal, con sodio.
Ajá. Ahí mezclas todos, el magnesio, potasio y sodio.
John, en el reactor
Sí,
utilizo las bobinas nanocubierto cáustico.
sí. Con esas tres sales para hacer el
No,
No, ¿no? ¿Qué es lo
no.
que usa?
Después de echar las bobinas en la sosa cáustica, donde pongo también los sales,
¿Pero qué
después,
sales? ¿También usa potasio ahí?
sí, potasio y magnesio y calcio para nanocubrimiento.
Está bien. He uses magnesium salts, potassium salts, and the normal salts for doing the nano coating on the copper.
Después, cuando empezamos el reactor de GANS,
And when we start the GANS reactor,
en algunos de ellos, en vez de utilizar el sal del mar o clorura de sodio, como se llama,
sí,
utilizo sal de magnesio, sal de potasio.
and what I use normally in these reactors sometimes is potassium salts or magnesium salts, not ordinary sea salts or chloruro de sodio. What is it? Sodium chloride salt.
Sí, sí. Y entonces tenemos el GANS de CO2 con magnesio, GANS de CO2 con potasio. En el poder de potasio, lo digo.
Y vos inclusive usás, no enjuagás los ganses, vos lo dejás con todas las sales, ¿no?
Sí, siempre.
Yeah, he always doesn't rinse the ganses. He always leaves the different salts in those ganses. They give the much more power in the fields, magnetic fields for the plants.
Como lo ponemos en eprubetas, nunca no
No los
tienen
enjuagás.
contacto. Sí,
As we put these in vials, these salts don't get into contact with the plants, but they have a much more strength than the normal rinsed ganses.
Very good. I had another question. He said that the plant retains moisture even in the sun.
¿Entendiste eso, Gianni? Las
sí,
plantas retienen la humedad en las hojas, inclusive en el sol, a la mañana.
sí.
Sí, yes. Retienen la humedad de la noche y la mantiene hasta el mediodía, más o menos.
John, la humedad no empieza por la noche.
Ajá.
Empieza antes de salida del sol con, digamos, más o menos 2 horas.
The humidity on the leaves appear just before sunrise and remains on the leaves for about a couple of hours.
Y se queda hasta el mediodía.
And many a time remains up to midday.
Y cuando lo miras, parecen unos cristales.
And when you watch them, they look like crystals on the leaves. Muy
Yes.
brillantes.
Sí.
Yes, it looks like he's increased the fields of the plant. So by increasing the gravitational fields, the plant can hold on what it wants to hold on to, I would think would be the moisture. And then by increasing the magnetical fields, it's able to protect what it wants to hold on to.
¿Entendiste,
Yes.
Gianni, no?
Sí, sí. También en el invernadero.
And also in our growing houses, whatever.
Como hemos hecho el plástico con el gas.
That we've these plastic invernaderos, what do you call them in English? Where you grow the plants under the plastic hole.
Greenhouse.
Exactly, yeah, the greenhouses.
Yes. La temperatura dentro nunca ha subido más de 32 grados.
The temperature inside these greenhouses has never gone over 32 degrees.
Fue muy
Centigrade.
curioso que algunas veces afuera más calor de como dentro del invernadero.
Many a time got much more higher temperature outside from the greenhouse, but it never goes over 32 degrees centigrade. That would be about 85 degrees Fahrenheit, I imagine.
Did you say 22 or 32?
32.
Ok, intento poner las fotos, pero con el teléfono.
I'm trying to put those pictures up with my phone. Está rebelde el teléfono.
No, estaba preparándolo.
I'm preparing my phone for this.
Aquí quería mostrar las fresas.
These are the strawberries. ¿Frutillas o fresas?
Frutillas. Y quería decir
Ajá.
una cosa. Al principio, hace unos años, fueron muy grandes.
The strawberries I used to cultivate some years ago were very big.
Pero de cuando hemos utilizado el plasma,
But ever since we've used the plasma for the last year,
se han quedado como lo que se llama salvaje.
they have grown as wild strawberries, much smaller ones. But me imagino mucho más gustosas, ¿no?
Wow, maravilloso.
They're very much more tasty. They're tastier.
Ah, eso es que utilizo para el nanocubrimiento cáustico.
This is what I use in my caustic treatment of the copper.
Y solo inmersión, sin vapor.
I only use it covering the plates with the salts, not in a vapor cloud.
Los elementos que utilizo todos son 10%.
I use 10% of each one of them. Bastante fuerte, entonces.
¿Por qué dices eso?
Y 10% es mucho, o 1%.
No, pero mira, la sosa cáustica, el hidróxido de sodio, son solo 2%, no, 3%.
Ah, bueno, por eso. Es decir, no es
He
10%.
dicho todo.
Sí,
¿Sabes
entiendo.
Por ejemplo, el sal de magnesio, potasio y los otros es como 1%.
He uses just over 1% of each one of the salts, and they don't add up to more than just under 10% of all the salts in the water.
Lo que quería mostrar con las fotos
What I wanted to show with these pictures
a ver, es como tenemos frutas, pero flores y también están produciendo continuamente.
Yeah, the plants are continually producing fruits. Y es llamativo la irradiación del blanco, ¿no? Como brilla.
Sí.
It's incredible the way the white sort of overwhelms over the other colors.
Muchos me han preguntado si estoy haciendo las fotos con no sé qué programa o aplicación.
Many ask him if he's processing the pictures with some special programs.
Nunca lo he hecho porque no sé cómo hacerlo.
I have never done this because I don't know how to do it.
Has Gianni exchanged any of his fruit or vegetables with the neighbors that are farmers, and he tastes their work and they taste his work?
¿Has intentado cambiar los frutos o hortalizas con tus vecinos para probar la diferencia entre uno y otro?
Sí, claro, siempre regalamos.
Yes, I've always done this. ¿Y qué resultados tenés? ¿Qué respuesta de tus vecinos?
Pues les gusta mucho.
Yes, I've always done this, and my neighbors have liked my products very much. So
Quiere comprar lo que hacemos nosotros.
they want to buy whatever I cultivate.
Porque dicen que la tierra que ellos tienen es mala.
They say that the earth they have is not good for producing their products, and they're just their neighbors. It's incredible.
Y nosotros no vendemos nada.
And we just don't sell anything, que lo regalan.
Sí.
And
Regalamos también las plantas.
yeah, we give the fruits and the different plants away to our neighbors. We don't charge for them.
Y por ejemplo, las fresas o frutillas, como le llamas, hemos regalado en toda Rumanía.
And we've given away our strawberries to different people all over Romania.
Hemos mandado en cajas de cartón.
We have sent in cardboard boxes all over Romania.
Y por ejemplo, para las semillas de zanahoria o otras raíces,
and for seeds, for carrots and other different seeds,
mandamos semillas y la zanahoria, la raíz.
And we've sent the different carrot seeds and the roots also.
Diciéndolo que puede utilizar las semillas para hacer raíces para comer.
And they can plant the seeds for producing the carrots.
Pero la raíz, por ejemplo, la zanahoria que está cerca, que mandamos con las semillas, tiene que ponerlo en la tierra para obtener propias semillas.
But the carrots, we send them with the seeds. I tell them that they have to plant those carrots and then they'll get new seeds.
Lo que quería mostrar aquí
What I wanted to show you here
es una planta de aloe.
It's an aloe vera plant.
Que por la primera vez echó una flor.
For the first time, it has given out a flower.
Pero lo que se puede ver, aquí hay un alma de tomate.
but que está mezclado, sí. You can see they're mixed up with a tomato plant, the
que
aloe vera,
apareció.
but just cropped up mysteriously.
Y está en una simbiosis.
And they were in a sort of brotherly growing in a brotherly way,
Y
in a
crecen,
symbiotic way.
sí, crecen justos una con otra,
They grow together one with the other.
compartiendo la misma tierra, los mismos campos y también lo que está alrededor.
Living together with the same earth and whatever fields they're receiving.
Eso es lo que se llama tomate cherry.
The cherry tomatoes, the small ones.
John,
Yes, go ahead.
yes, could you ask Gianni, does he allow what we call weeds to exist? Does he pull weeds out, or does he allow them to coexist with the plants he's growing?
Entendiste, Johnny, no? Le contesto. Yeah, he doesn't pull any weeds out. He lets everything grow together. ¿No? ¿No es cierto, Johnny?
Yes, yes. Quería explicar otra cosa. Por ejemplo, lo que se ven aquí, las hojas que están secas.
And here what I can show you is the dry leaves.
Muchos quitan todo eso diciendo que ayudan la planta.
Many take those dry leaves off the plants, pero tú la dejas, ¿no?
Sí, porque siempre cuando pasa eso aparece otra y crecen otra.
I don't take those dry leaves off because whenever those leaves dry up, new leaves crop up in the same place.
Many searching this, John.
Yeah, they crop up in the same place. Yeah, they replace the dry leaf.
Sí, aquí en la foto, como se puede ver, hemos puesto bambú 3.
La pirámide. Here, as you can see,
Tetraedro.
the three-sided triangle is a pyramid to hold up the plants.
En la izquierda, como se puede ver, arriba está el CH3.
Tenés sí, se ven los envases. Up top on those pyramids, you can see the different vials with the ganses.
Y abajo está el CO2.
Yeah, up top I have CH3 and down below I have CO2.
2 abajo de CO2 y uno arriba CH3.
I keep 2 down below of CO2 GANs and up above the CH3 GANs.
Pero también aquí, John, como puedes ver, es un dispositivo, un toroide. ¿Lo ves?
Sinceramente no. ¿En dónde? ¿Decimos con la planta o qué?
Sí.
Que se forma.
No. Está un toroide de cobre nano cubierto.
No, verdad que. It says he has a toroid made out of copper, nano-coated copper. I can't see it myself. I don't know where he has it.
¿Lo ves la probeta en la derecha?
Sí.
Mira en la izquierda.
Sí.
Se puede
Hay
ver
otra
una
probeta.
Sí, pero debajo hay algo que parece un infinito.
Down below the left-handed, on the left hand, you can see the vial, and down below you got an infinite. I can't see it myself, but También tenés una bobina hecha de las que sé siempre, ¿no?
Sí.
He does these special coils, and he also has them hanging up there. ¿Cómo llamas a tus bobinas? No le has
¿Cuál
puesto un
de-
nombre. Esa que haces, la bobina dentro de la bobina. Esa es lo que llamas toroide.
Sí.
Ah, this is those special coils he makes. He calls them toroids.
Ahí quería mostrar cómo está lleno de vida.
And here I want to show you how everything is full of life. Sí, la flor del aloe vera es fantástica. Ajá.
Aquí se puede ver una de las eprubetas
So here you can see one of the vials.
y es maravilloso como hay tomates que se hacen y cada vez más y más.
And here you can see how the tomato plants are producing or reproducing themselves continually.
Y lo que quería decir aquí es un tipo de tierra que ha quedado después de la construcción.
And this is a type of earth that has remained after the construction. Es una tierra pobre.
Sí, más piedras de como tierra.
Here you can see this earth is a pretty poor earth. It has more stones than anything else.
Y aquí Nico ha logrado hacer toda esa maravilla.
And Nico has managed to produce this marvelous garden on this poor earth.
And John,
Go ahead.
he never waters his buckets or his garden with water, just natural.
¿Nunca le regas a tus plantas? ¿Es solo la humedad natural?
Aquí Nico a veces ¿cómo se llama el cubo donde están?
Sí, la época de seca.
Sí, algunas veces sí que le ponen un poquito de agua. Nico.
Nico, whenever she has a dry season, sometimes he just gives it a bit of water, but not very much.
From tank water.
Sí, y John, aquí, por ejemplo, si miras la foto donde está la esquina de la casa,
Sí.
hay un tanque de 1000 litros con aquaplasma.
Here at the corner of the house, I have a 1,000-liter tank with plasma water.
Es agua de lluvia
It's rainwater.
y queda 3/4 del tanque con agua.
The tank remains with 750 liters, is 3/4 of its capacity with water.
Porque no fue necesario regar mucho.
Because it wasn't necessary to water the garden very much. They only
Beautiful.
used, yeah.
The aloe vera flower, it's really showing its beauty and the physicality.
Yep.
Never seen that.
Yeah. Thank you. Eso quería mostrar y es maravilloso.
Thank you, Gianni. Muchísimas gracias a vos, Gianni. Es hermoso.
Yo agradezco al señor Keshe porque ha dicho muy claro
And I thank Mr. Keshe because he's put it very clear
que si elevamos, digamos, el alma de las plantas,
that if we elevate the souls of our plants,
me va a regalar lo mismo.
these plants will give us the same, their soul strength. Let's put it this way.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Gianni. Gracias, Gianni.
Ok, si hay más preguntas, con mucho gusto.
If there are any more questions, just shoot.
Very nice, Johnny. Very nice work there. Reminds me of Jack and the Beanstalk somehow. I think you have a picture of yourself with some, was it beans that were growing up like 3 meters high or something? Okay, is there any particular questions for Gianni and his presentation here?
Yeah, Mark was right there. It wasn't a grasshopper I mentioned. It's a mantis, yes.
A praying mantis, to be specific. So interesting.
Exactly, yeah.
He's busy doing prayer and actually probably taking care of some of the bugs that may not be so beneficial at the same time.
Yeah, like what you were saying with all those different combinations of what we call weeds and other things growing together, it's a much less sterile environment. Like if you just have rows of corn, I think the fields are, there's not a cacophony or like an orchestra. It's just the corn and rows of corn. But when you allow all the different interactions, there must be so many things going on there with all the different fields created by all the different shapes and structures and heights and so on.
Right. Like what brought that praying mantis into the field? Well, it would have been, it's got some bugs or some sort of things that it likes to eat, because that's why it would move there. It's a more preferential place. And because it moves in, it keeps down certain bugs that might be eating leaves or other things, and probably is quite beneficial. I'm assuming, unless it eats leaves itself. I could be wrong there. But it's interesting how the whole ecosystem builds up to sustain itself. Like even when you have weeds, you can still put your love into the other plants, the strawberries or whatever, and so they naturally overpower the weeds, and the weeds kind of give up or manifest a little bit here and there, but they don't dominate. And the weeds, when you think about it, they probably also help to create the shade and to retain the moisture, which is all part of that diversity. I think helps to retain the moisture. It's got lots of different types of leaves, and it seems to cover almost all the ground with leaf cover, and enough to retain the moisture. And plus it's rising, elevating garden.
Right. What sort of feedback does Gianni get from his plants at the soul level? He must be interacting with them. I know that without really asking, but what sort of feedback does he get from his plants?
¿Entendiste, Gianni, la pregunta?
Not the fruit, not the vegetables, not the fruit, but on the soul level.
¿Qué respuesta recibís de las plantas a nivel de tu alma?
Pues como he dicho muchas veces, ya no necesitamos comer mucho.
As I've said many a time, we don't need to eat very much.
Muy poco.
We eat very little. This happens to me also, yeah.
Una vez al día, pero no eso es importante.
Yeah.
Cuando te acercas de una planta, te regala el aroma y alegría.
When you get near to a plant, it gives you its joyfulness and all the strength. You really don't have to feed off it.
Y como estoy afuera del oasis.
And as I spend much of my time in the oasis,
cierro los ojos.
I just close my eyes
y pienso en mis hermanas, así
and
lo
I
llamo,
just
mis hermanas,
think of my brothers and sisters as
y me,
I refer
yes,
to them as this,
y me lleno de aroma
and I just fill myself with the aromas of the different plants
y alegría.
and joyfulness.
Es como nunca estoy separado de ellos.
It sounds as if I'm never separated from them.
A veces cuando trabajo, tengo que hacer cosas, me siento cansado un poquito, me siento sin zapatos, claro, siempre.
And many a time when I'm working between the plants, I never wear my shoes. I get a bit tired, but not much.
Y me veo en el mismo momento en el oasis.
And I feel myself in the oasis, plentiful of all the fields, I imagine.
Y es un
Joyful
regalo
fields.
para mí.
It's a very nice present for me. A gift.
Y, yes, a gift. Y thank you.
Thank you, Johnny.
Gracias por las preguntas.
Thank you for the questions.
Okay, any further comments? All right, thank you, Johnny. Thank you, John. Very good presentation. So
It's a
it would have been
pleasure.
good for the testimonial group. Would have been a good one. But here is fine as well. It's always good to hear from Johnny. All right, who else has something they'd like to bring up for today's workshop?
Hello, friends. This is Lawrence from Hungary. Good morning,
Hi,
good evening,
Lawrence.
wherever you are. I'm very happy about this presentation and the results, and I'm also very happy that Chandra is here with us again with a powerful voice and good ideas. And one thing struck me last teaching when Mr. Keshe said that it depends on what kind of light we shine on our ganses. Maybe someone else also remembers this this wording or whatever. And I think I figured something out which we should be thinking about, because there are peculiar effects with the technologies that we use, from starting with the nano-coated copper. If you put it into a pool of water, then after a while that pool gets disinfected, and the water changes from murky to clear. Then we have these field effects of the ganses, that we put different containers of ganses, and we see that the plants grow and they produce more fruits, and we need not to water them because dew or water is being created. And I think I figured something out again, considering from where Mr. Keshe's professional past is coming from. And you remember that we had this talk about the fields of deuterium being incorporated in the nano-coated copper because of the carbon-14 and the carbon-12. And this is a little technical, but consider that spectroscopy, you know, this kind of material diagnosis, what kind of matter or molecules are in a certain compound, is being done as one of the technologies with an UV lamp, ultraviolet light lamp. And especially deuterium as the matter gas is being used in these UV lamps. And ultraviolet light emitted from the deuterium is very good, and is being used for the spectroscopy in particular because it has a very broad band of ultraviolet light from the shortest nanometer spectrum to the higher nanometer spectrum as well. So I thought, and we also know that UV light is being used for disinfection, for example, in industrial applications. But it's also detrimental in some respect if it's coming from the metastate deuterium. So I think when we're working with the plasmatic deuterium, the GaNs of deuterium, for example, or the plasma of the deuterium, we have an ultraviolet light source, which is a plasmatic ultraviolet light, which is a broad spectrum light that then converts into the different matters, you know, this Michelson-Morley experiment where the light converts if it hits into what we call a neutron. I think the June edition of the Keshe Foundation Plasma Times was showing this experiment. So I think it's this ultraviolet light that we are creating with the nano coating and the different other lights, because Mr. Keshe always says that the GaNs are stars. So we're creating light sources, and those light sources interacting create those effects that we see in form of, for example, increased plant growth. And then I know it's a lot of topics, so please ask if you want right now, but I have another thing. You know, there are these breatharians people, you know, those people who with the right intention and the right mindset have just stopped eating or stopped drinking, or both at the same time. You know, like Rick explained, I think in the last experience teaching that he had a bad back, and then one time he just lay on the floor and he decided he would get rid of this bad back, and just, you know, the pain went away. Since then there's no problems like that. These breatharian people just simply decided that they open up to what they call the sunlight. I think with the light sources that we have, the GaNs and the nano-coated copper and all the tools that we've been taught, we already have a light source at disposal if we don't want to tap into the universal fields that are also at our disposal, but we want to be, you know, physical and want to see something that's, you know, close to us and helps us do this transition. But the point is that we are probably invited through the GaNs
I lost your audio there, Lawrence.
I'm sorry. Where did you lose me?
Just about about 10 seconds ago.
Okay, so the point is that I think we have a shortcut with the use of the nano coating and the copper and the GaNs, that as light sources we can feed our own cells to become what presently is being called breatharian. You know, these prana breathing people who say they are feeding on the sunlight, but in fact it's not the sunlight, because if you go out of the solar system as a soul, you will not have the sun to be interacting with. You will have another sun or whatever. You will have the universal fields to be interacting with. And I think when Mr. Keshe says that the deuterium as in the plasmatic form is the source of the universal source of the creation, or the common denominator, is because there's a field of the neutron in it. You know, this is the DC part where there's no the direct line with the creator in the center, the neutron, and then you have a proton and then the electron, which is the AC part, which is the alternating current, the matter part, if you want it like this. So the deuterium is that trinity which contains the principle and the transition and the matter part as well in a whole unit. So and we should I think in terms of reactor, you know, in December we were shown another present from Mr. Keshe from his lab. He showed us this ball with this violet light flashing in this horizontal line, like, you know, not the whole bulb flashing, but there were horizontal lines or regions in that ball that were emitting light. And I think the color of the light was like UV light. So I think we should consider creating a reactor where we have deuterium in the center, because deuterium, if excited, can emit ultraviolet light. And in the outer skirts, just like there's another topic, biophotons. Biophotons supposedly are emitted from our cells or any cell. And the principle is just like the plasmatic principle, that there's the highest high energy source in the center. The ultraviolet is in the center, and infrared is at the outer skirts or at the cell membrane. So we know from these experiments done with the fourth phase of water, Gerald Pollack, that at the membrane of the cell, there's these hexagonal structures created through the interaction of the water with the infrared light. So if we create, if we use an ultraviolet source in the center, and I think it's the guns of the deuterium that is a safe source for this ultraviolet light emission, and we put stuff around it, like, for example, in a cell or in a human body, we will have that reactor or the biosimilar or the creation similar reactor that Mr. Keshe is always talking about. So light, consider ultraviolet light as a broad spectrum ultraviolet light as the source of creation, or not only the ultraviolet, but the higher spectrum of the electromagnetic fields.
In the patent reactors, most of them have, or what's described in the patent is especially EUV, extreme ultraviolet, and it's at the far end of the ultraviolet spectrum, let's say, and it has particular qualities in the way it interacts with the hydrogen. So that could be a clue there. And then, of course, in the original reactor, that's shown in the patents, you've got this series of gases that transform that energy and can either scintillate and reflect it back and contain it within that structure. So yeah.
And also remember that Mr. Keshe explained that we should alter the periodic table and put the salts in the center in form of a connector. And to the right side of the salts, we have the noble gases as radiation sources, light sources, if you want it like this, or converters of this high light in different dimensions or levels. And on the other side of the salts, we have, for example, the fluorine and the chlorine. We have the stoppers, the receivers, which say dampen the fields. So, on the one hand, you have something which emits fields. On the other hand, you have something which consumes those fields. And in the center, you have the salts that are the connecting medium, the intermediaries, which connect the two sides together.
Yeah, what's
So-
really interesting is some things can absorb the radiation and re-emit a different kind of radiation, either of a higher intensity or a lower intensity. Might be a higher intensity, but only for a very short period of time. It accumulates it and then beams it out like a laser beam sort of thing. And if
Yes.
you could line up all those and aim them at the center, then you can create that special reaction in the center, perhaps.
In
Carry
the
on.
center, we need we already have the conditions. When we create the conditions, for example, for the neutron or for the deuterium in the center of our reactors, and we already have been explained how to do it because we can create.
Yes, but
the gases.
what you said earlier, you have to create the conditions around it to form the light. Like certain light will activate that center. It's the center
Yeah.
which emits, but you got to have the conditions around it pushing the pressure pushing in on it to create those that emission. Right?
If you want, just take a look at how a UV lamp is designed, and there is a very small, tiny tungsten wire in the matter state, and the lamp is filled with deuterium gas, and that little wire excites the gas to emit UV light. You need electric power for this process to happen. So you need a DC input, just like a normal light bulb with the copper wire, to have this light source emit its light. And you remember we have those parachutes from the Keshe reactor. And you remember the Eindhoven presentation where he showed us his brain design, where there was a spine and the parachutes were connected. So if you have a reactor where you put electrodes in and you excite the content of that reactor like it was a lamp, and we replace the deuterium matter with the deuterium GaNs, or for example, only the fields of the deuterium GaNs, then we have a safe plasmatic source that we can play with. And there was some times when we were said we shouldn't be using electricity or electric power to boost GaNs production. Now I think it's been accepted, and it's even okay, because Mr. Keshe explained when we are creating CA3 GaNs and we put a little bit too much voltage on it, we already had the deuterium happening. So I think it's allowed for this learning process to be using electric DC input to excite our little creations. In the universe, I think there's no special need to do this electric input, because there are already lots of electric fields that are being created, through ionization, storms, interplanetary Birkeland currents, etc. So there's a constant flow of electrons and fields and magnetism that's available to ignite this process. So what I wanted to say is that we should again go through the previous teachings and consider this precious source of deuterium fields, what we have been given, which is called firstly the nano-coated copper, and secondly what we've been taught to be creating with the ganses and the reduction process that leads to these energy level ganses, what we call the hydrogen, the deuterium, and the tritium, because these are the sources for that light, that what you now explained is extreme ultraviolet light, which is the which is the light of the creator, if you want it like this, which then can be used for creation of matters and creation of conditions which we wanted to see for years, or which is also the source of why those plants grow so big and why there's always moisture, etc. Because we're doing the same thing as in the early morning hours. The sun does, we're creating dew out of fields. It's the holy water, if you want it like this. The how do you call the women who had no sex? The maiden water, which is being created out of the plasmatic fields.
Virgin waters.
Yeah.
What you're
Virgin,
looking for.
Yeah.
As in virgin olive oil and that kind of thing.
Yes, exactly. Please ask.
Okay, anybody have any questions or comments, particularly about that aspect?
Quería comentar una cosa. John,
Estaba buscando mi botón. I wanted to comment something. This is Johnny.
tengo la oportunidad de utilizar instrumentos de técnica dentaria.
I have the opportunity to use technical instruments for dental work.
Y en la técnica dentaria se utiliza UV.
In the dental work, we use a lot of UV light.
Un tipo de longitud de onda específico.
A special, specific wavelength of UV light
Para la polimerización.
for the polymerization of de los productos, ¿no? Para que endurezcan.
Sí.
For them to harden the surface of the different materials used on the teeth.
Hay como un tipo de bolígrafo.
There's a type
Pen.
of pen, yes, we use.
Que utiliza algo como unos cristales para focalización.
That
UV.
use a type of crystal to focalize the UV light on the surface.
He utilizado eso para como la luz incidente en el microscopio.
We use this on the microscope pictures also.
Y por ejemplo, donde hay una ampliación de 1200x,
where we amplify the pictures for 1,200 times.
si utilizas UV como
use UV
incidente,
light, if you use a UV light as illuminating the surface,
puedes ver, yo le llamo las constelaciones de una planta.
you could see what I call the constellations of the different plants.
Es como, a mí me parece que entras dentro de un átomo.
I get the impression I go into the structure of the atom of the different substances.
Aparece algo que solo con el microscopio normal no lo puedes ver.
Something funny crops up that you can't see with a normal microscope.
Y hecho ese comentario,
Making this commentary,
es lo que he comprendido, lo que ha dicho,
because I have understood what whoever talked, I forget his name, about these UV lights.
y es maravilloso.
And this is marvelous.
Y gracias.
Thank you.
That'd be Lawrence, yeah. Okay, well, I was just looking at the Keshe patent here. I'd like to have a look at that for a minute. Let me share. Make it bigger. There we go. Okay, so you should be able to see that now. And this is the Keshe patent application at the European Patent Office. This is patent EP 1770717A1. And it's called gravitational energy system. And you can see by the images, there's various images of the different layers of gases. In particular, you can see in different incarnations of that. So we see rays coming out from the center, and he talks about the process. So I'd like to look into this a bit. And look right in the very first paragraph, he does talk about the process. I'll just read the first paragraph here, and then we'll get into a couple of details I want to look at. So the abstract goes, the new method and technology is described to create under centrifugal and vacuum conditions, in the presence of ionization condition, a turbulence, rotation, compressive, and heating of a gaseous matter is created in a reactor by at least one central rotative magnetic field with the purpose of creating plasmatic conditions leading to the creation of various magnetic fields, or at least the interaction of two magnetic fields would lead to the creation of at least one gravitational force phenomena. In a reactor embodiment, a chain of energetic events is created via a rotative magnetic initiation of a basic ionization of a gas, such as hydrogen, which then triggers a controllable chain of energy transfers, scintillation, to the next following layer or layers of introduced gases, such as helium, neon, argon, krypton, and xenon, of all other introduced elements of the periodic table, such as lithium, beryllium, potassium, calcium, titanium, platinum, etc., and or their introduced molecule combinations, such as a vapor. A central column has magnetic means to start the process. Various concepts, applications, and products are disclosed, such as space travel and atomic welding. And it gets into more descriptive about that and so on. I want just to go down a bit into, where was it I saw that?
Quería también comentar otra cosa.
I also want to commentate something else.
Las fotos que hago donde se ven como brillan las plantas,
In the pictures where you could see some of the plants irradiate some other light.
la mayoría están hechos antes de salida del sol.
Many of these pictures are taken before the sun comes over the horizon.
Yo lo puedo sentir como una pulsación.
I can feel it as a pulsation.
Pero cuando hago las fotos aparecen como la aureola que tienen.
But when I take the pictures, I feel sort of an aura that comes out of the picture.
Y gracias porque ahora se confirma algunas cosas que he pensado de mucho tiempo.
And thank you, because this confirms what I've been thinking about for many a time.
Okay, well, let's get into it a bit more, because it's interesting what you just said and what the next paragraph I wanted to read here, which goes down to this paragraph 14 out of the patent here. And it says, without scintillation and a low density, low volume ration of atomic hydrogen environment of the galaxies, the process of ionization will not take place, and that the rest of the chain of events for the creation of any system or galaxy is initiated. So scintillation is the ignition key for the start of creation of any system in the universe. That's a pretty big sentence there, I think. I'll read it again. Scintillation is the ignition key for the start of creation of any system in the universe. So you're thinking, I'm thinking, you're creating a new, you're planting a seed, you're creating a new plant, for example. That ignition key, that scintillation, that spark that starts it is there. The same as when the egg meets, the sperm meets the egg. They say that when they connect, there's actually a spark given off. And this has to do with the zinc, actually, the zinc oxide. It actually creates light in that that cell. And so scintillation is the ignition key. All inert gases in conjunction with different materials and conditions in the cores can be used for or as scintillation material in the core of the reactors. So that's interesting. Let's see here. Now, there's something else I wanted to get into. Well,
Mr. Keshe has hidden a lot of information in all these short sentences.
Yes, that's right. And I wanted to just bring out this one point about the extreme ultraviolet as opposed to the ultraviolet. And we'll get a little technical here, but I think that's okay for a few minutes while we just work through this, because I think it's important. It's come up before, and I'd like to just dive into it here while we're at it. So I'm just going to read through, and maybe we can go back and pick out the points and so on. So he goes on to say that the use of liquid helium and neon and other inert gases as scintillators is the essential ingredient of the operation of any system that needs to generate heat, power, and gravity. Helium and neon have no unstable, naturally occurring isotopes, therefore, any inherent radioactive backgrounds. That is why these are good sources for creation of the extreme ultraviolet ray catalyst source needed for initial ionization of the hydrogen atoms to start the heating of the gases and plasma in the Caroline core. Okay. So he's saying that the helium and neon are the source of the extreme ultraviolet ray catalyst needed to ionize the hydrogen atoms in the center of and the Caroline core to start the heating and turbulence and so on, the plasma. Then he goes on to say,
well, wait a minute. It's exactly this sentence which is very important, because in the center you have the high energy source. You know, in the center of the plasma, you have the extreme ultraviolet, and then at the outer edge, you have the heat, the infrared. So it's the interaction between the center and the outer boundary, the high energy and the low energy, the infrared, the ultraviolet and the infrared, that creates this interaction, that feedback loop. So one is the center and the other is the outer boundary. So scintillation is what we call the center of the plasma. Infrared, the heating part, is the outer edge of the plasma. Continue, please.
Well, he's saying that the helium and neon are the sources for the creation of the extreme ultraviolet rays needed for the ionization of the hydrogen. Okay, that's the important point there. Anyway, okay, let's carry on, and it'll become more self-evident as we get into the details here, I think. In galaxies, the ultraviolet photons from the remnants of the explosion of stars have sufficient energy to strip the electrons completely away from the hydrogen atoms and ionize the hydrogen atoms. When and if the atom of hydrogen absorbs a photon with a wavelength of 912 angstroms, the atom is ionized with the extra energy going into kinetic energy of the electron. This requires a photon energy greater than 13.6 electron volts, or a wavelength of 912 angstroms in the ultraviolet region. Collision between electrons thermalize their energy, this energy heating the gas in the region to higher temperatures. Theoretical models of the installer cloud are providing new insights into the role of extreme ultraviolet rays and soft X-ray photoelectric heating, as well as thermal conductive interfaces, as explaining the observed high ratios of hydrogen at very low pressures. These indicating not the need for the use of ionized hydrogen, but natural hydrogen in the process of heating up a gas to a plasma state. At the present, most considerations are given to use of ionized hydrogen and its relation with extreme ultraviolet rays emissions. Recent research and findings allows the endeavor to a new territory of a reverse state of condition. Where it has been observed in the galaxies that the ground state of hydrogen receiving energy photons in the extreme ultraviolet rays range would and is excited to be ionized. Then, by returning to the ground state through catalysis, it can be used to release this energy to heat up the surrounding gas to the heated plasma state. So this is opening a new approach into the development of systems where not ionized, but natural hydrogen and atomic hydrogen can be used to generate energy and currents by using extreme ultraviolet rays rather than ultraviolet rays to create the ionization.
You remember the Geiger-Müller counter and the Townsend discharge and this ionization that's being detected as or the radiation that's creating the ionization that's then detected through this Geiger-Müller counter?
Mm-hmm.
It's a very similar process that we're going through with our reactors. There is basically no difference. We just don't have an electrode in our reactors, but we use the ganses, the energy level ganses that are in the center to create this effect. This is why we've been taught the GANs of the neutron, the GANs of the deuterium and tritium, so that we can create the conditions of those ganses. And then if you look at the Keshe Foundation wiki, there's a nice article on the creation of these three, and there's an explanation of how magnetic fields can be used to either point the north poles to each other with a center ball of deuterium in the center to create the hydrogen, and then the other configuration to create the tritium. So either if you compress the deuterium, you create more neutron GaNs plasma. If you extract from the deuterium, you create more tritium, or it could be the other way around. The point is that through the interaction of fields, because the deuterium is the stable condition, if you squeeze it with fields, you create more neutron. You become, if you want, heavier, because we know that the neutrons are the source of the gravitation of the planets. So if we have a bunch of neutrons, then that's why, or how planets create their gravity and their weight. If you decrease the number of neutrons, then you become lighter and you start floating. So, and I think that that connection that you made with the zinc oxide, and I think we should also add the iron, is the connection that we have through our emotions, and our emotions will be either adding to that reactor or subtracting from the reactor. So like this, changing the magnetic field configuration around the deuterium, so that we can control the system, how it works. And I think that's the reactor control that we need to be, or that we've been taught about. So this is why computers are obsolete, because you can't work on an electron level if you have a system that's working on the plasma level and on magnetic fields, because electrons can't do anything with the magnetic fields that they are a source of. So the weaker can't do anything about the stronger. So you have to work with the stronger so that you can affect the weaker. And like this, computer systems are obsolete. Could you follow what I was saying about this deuterium and the changeover in the reactor core?
Some of it, not exactly. Maybe you need to make a diagram.
Just
make
open
pictures.
Open the Keshe Foundation wiki and search for deuterium or tritium, and there's a very nice description created by Romanian knowledge seekers that explains how you can create the ganses of the neutron or the ganses of tritium out of deuterium, because the deuterium is can be converted to be like this or like that with magnets around it.
All right, let's see what we can do here. Make me work for it.
Thank you.
Let's see, let's go to KFWiki. I prefer English. And you want me to search for what again? Exactly.
Let's say deuterium. And the first article.
Is that it?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, that was in the KF Plasma Times, December 2018.
Exactly, very important. And if you scroll down, you will see an further down, almost at the bottom, there's a deuterium ball in the center and magnets around it. Just a tidbit more. Yeah, there it comes. Exactly here. by changing the orientation of the fields, whether they compress this H2 GANs or that they extract from the H2 GANs, you can create hydrogen, neutron or tritium. Here it is explained. It's official in the KF wiki. And consider that so it's the ratio of how much this deuterium gives in form of ultraviolet light is what you can is how it's the magnetical field of it. It's the giving part of it. And through the reactor, because we have a superconductive outer boundary, it feeds on itself.
Okay, well, that's good information there. It takes a lot to soak it in, let's say, but these pictures, I'm thinking, what if you had a ball of GANs in the middle, instead of having just two poles of the magnets are actually rotating around the ball in the middle. The ball was stationary, but these maybe have 4, 6, or 8 sets of north-facing magnets all rotating around that center ball to compress it with their fields, but rotating it at the same time would be an interesting process to
consider the two magnets, your two hands, and then you have a field of energy in between your hands, and you can decide if you compress the fields or if you take from the fields or if you just let the fields flow. I mean, there's with two magnets, you have 3 configurations, whether they're north points, both north poles point to the center, both south poles point to the center, or the magnets point in the same direction, like north and south.
Yeah,
So
my
you have-
idea would be, if you're with the analogy of hands, if you're ever to make a snowball, then you don't use your fists or your flat hands to make a snowball because it would just squish out. So you cup your hands around to make the ball. And that's why I'm thinking to surround that ball of GANs with magnets rather than flatten it, let's say. You know what I mean?
Yes, and then consider that snowball being fields, magnetic fields. You have the magnetic fields of the universe everywhere at your disposal. And your hands, because we know about biophotons, they are also ultraviolet light sources, just like everywhere else stars are ultraviolet light sources. Your soul is also a reactor. So you have your hands, the expression of your body reactor, then you have the source of your own ultraviolet in form of your soul. It's another field. And then you can take the universal fields that are all around, and through the compression of the fields, you can create the fields of whatever you want in the center in between your hands. And then if you want to go very fancy, you can again use those salts or the salt water that we use for the capture of the ganses. And then if you're good at it and you have stable emotions, you can convert your fields, the expression of your light, into the matter that you want to have at what that you need. This is what I think the alchemists were doing when they were stirring that big pot with the, and you know, it's the
What the yogis do when they manifest a flower or something like that.
Yeah. It's and this is the point why I brought up this whole breatharian thing, is because as long as we are sticking with the consumption of the converted matters because we're lazy to become, you know, full-grown adults. We're still in the carrion state, and we don't want to go butterfly. We are not actually applying the knowledge that we've been taught on how to convert the fields and to take what we need from the fields that we need. So this whole explanation is basically an invitation to do, and also to myself as usual.
I like that. There'll be a new phrase now. Don't go butterfly on me. Don't go butterfly on me. It'll be like, are we going to be the butterfly or not? Those who aren't the butterfly think that the talk of the butterfly is, what are you talking about, being able to fly around and so on? That's impossible until you become a butterfly. Okay, very good. Anything else on that, Lawrence? Anybody else like to comment about this whole idea of the deuterium, the reactors of whatever kinds, and how to control the interactions therein? Some interesting ideas there, and I don't think we've done enough experiments as a group in this regard. This one page has a lot of information, that's for sure.
Well, yeah, just add to this page that deuterium in the matter state is a source of ultraviolet light, of a broad spectrum ultraviolet light that's being used in spectroscopy to detect what kind of material is being measured. The ganses, we shouldn't consider the ganses themselves, but what they emit and how they emit, and in what conditions we create different emissions out of those ganses. And I think this is why possibly we should consider creating a reactor of deuterium gas, or the fields of those deuteriums, and then probably use the parachutes as electrons to you know, ignite the gas, just like we did with the UV lamps, because we have up until now used it as in its natural state. So, well, I think we should consider, you know, if you take a look at the human head, there's hair growing in different parts. That's where we put energies out, if you want it like this. And there's bald places on our head where we mostly are gravitational, where we put things in, like we put air through our nose, we consume the light, even though our eyes are light emitters, we mostly consume the light from outside. We have the ears to consume sounds. So even our head, if you want it like this, is an expression of magnetic and gravitational combined. So it's also, the ganses are like this, that they have hairs and they have a gravitational part where they consume things from the outside. And if we find the right input to feed the ganses, and I think that's where this where the energy level ganses come in play, that we have the hydrogen, the deuterium, and the tritium, the interplay, and they have different kinds of lights that they emit. And on the other hand, we have the heavier ganses, which we started with, the CO2, the zinc oxide, the copper oxide, which are the consumers. So we have the ultraviolet sources, and then on the other hand, we have the infrared sources. And like this, we have the whole system that we can work with to create a proper reactor. We just need to excite the center, the ultraviolet source, or the high energy source to give from its source to feed the lowers. And then if we have a nano coated container to have the right reflection ratios, then we have what we were thinking about for years. So just consider the lights, the different qualities of lights and their interaction, and the weights of the ganses, the plasmatic strengths of the ganses, and how they interact with each other, and always go lower.
Okay, is everybody happy? No questions, no comments, no arguments? This doesn't seem natural. No, it's all good. A lot to ponder. Okay, then what else do we have lined up here? Anybody else with something they'd like to bring up? See, we have a couple of attendees, which I'll bring in. Haven't heard from any of the ladies yet today. Perhaps we need some feminine atmosphere here. Any comments, ladies? Oh, there's two. Three. Sorry, at least. Oh, we have another attendee. Come on in, Thomas. Maybe you have something good to say. Anything new with you, Thomas?
Hey, Rick. I just been listening for the last maybe 15, 20 minutes. So I remember Mr. Keshe talking about this patent maybe half a year ago, and just replacing the gases with ganses. So I'm assuming helium would be the deuterium that our fellow was referring to in this presentation. That makes sense?
Kind of does now, yeah. Yeah, I am wondering how to transfer over, because the concepts will be the same in the reactor patent and the use of ganses. Okay. Well, if no one has anything to say, I don't have much more to offer right now. We could end for today if people are okay with that. Nothing to offer, all these knowledge seekers here. We're what, 3 hours into it here? 3 hours in. Well, I'm certainly willing to end. I'm pretty tired myself, but I'm also willing to continue if there's a reason to do so. Giving a minute for people to ponder while I share the. I'm going to check the comments and things here as well.
I can give another bit of thinking if you want it, because the deuterium in the matter state is supposed to be not so good, because it messes up with our cell function. So there are now studies being done that deuterium depleted water, or the depletion of deuterium from our bodies, helps with our health.
But it has to be at a fairly high concentration in order to do that, apparently. And you could have a glass of deuterium water and wouldn't even notice it, basically.
Well, it's a quantitative way, because we're constantly putting in deuterium in our bodies, and
it's part of the natural water, right? Yeah,
it's part of the natural water. Even the seas are full of deuterium. But there are, stories from in the Bible where people were living, say, 900 years before the Great Flood, before the time of Noah. And there are theories that an asteroid hit the Earth and released a bunch of, or huge amounts of deuterium into the waters. And this is the cause why we now live the short lifespans as we live, as we currently, are used to. But there are people, for example, the Hunza people up in the mountains, where they live 120 years, and there's also been research done that if you go to the Antarctic and you spend a winter there or a year there, and you consume only the water that's around at that part, where there's much lower concentrations of deuterium, matter state deuterium in the waters, that you will be much more healthier when you get out of that environment. So there are suggestions that if we decrease the amount of matter state deuterium that we consume by either consuming the proper foods, there are different diets, or consuming the proper waters, we can get rid of different kind of things that we usually don't want to have in terms of our bodily functions. I've been thinking of a.
But didn't you say earlier that we want to have deuterium in our reactors? And if we consider our bodies reactors, wouldn't we want to have that as part of the process inside?
I think we have to make a huge difference between the deuterium in the matter state and how it's presently presented as it works in biology, and what we consider or use as deuterium in the gaseous state or plasmatic state. And yes, we have to be careful about the ratios and on how we work with these things. Even Carolina suggests that we shouldn't put nano-coated copper onto our bodies, and I think the whole reason for it is because it contains the fields of deuterium, and through the interaction with the electricity of our environment and how we live, we will have a source of ultraviolet light. And as we all know, ultraviolet light in the matter state is something which we should be careful of. We don't go out into the sun to not get a sunburn, etc. So you don't put an ultraviolet source, a wideband ultraviolet source onto your body directly. But if you keep the proper distance, because these high-level ultraviolets lose their strength with distance easily in the matter state, you're fine. So I'm talking about deuterium in the matter state when they say that it's advisable to deplete deuterium from our bodies. And I think if you just take a look at this Gantz reactor setup with the magnets that we've been showing from the Keshe wiki, if you can create the conditions for the deuterium in the body to convert, for example, to neutron or tritium, then you have sources of energy available without having done basically anything. You just need a plasmatic condition, just like the magnets, where you convert the deuterium in the body to the beneficial energy configurations of it. And this would, for example, explain what Mr. Keshe has been telling us about you walk in and you have no cancer, because there are well, I don't want to go into this, but just look up on YouTube the recent presentations in the last half a year since we've been talking about this deuterium. It's been popping up in the human psyche all around the world. So there's people talking about it much more intensely. So it's a way of it's a way of biohacking the human body to work in a different state. And if we want to create a nice product in terms of market for this GANS plasma technology, is, for example, creating a water filtering device or clearing device that cleans out the matter state deuterium or converts it to some other beneficial state, because white grain sugars, seawater, all these are full in terms of high concentrations of deuterium. So since we know how to deal with the deuterium because we've been taught different methods, we can either do it at home or create a device that does it at home and then change it over to another condition. But in terms of reactor setup, if we know how we can deal with, for example, the shielding of the ultraviolet that's being emitted from the deuterium, yes, we can use it, for example, for space flight or for energy creation or for plasmatic things that we've been talking about in the patent. It's you know, I just wanted to say that all I've been explaining is food for thought, and be wise and be cautious. And you know, there are things that you should play with if you understand what you're doing. So that's what I wanted to add. So that's, you know, there's two sides of the coin, and let's be wise about what we tinker with.
Yeah, it's true. We casually sort of toss around these ideas, but it does mention here, attention, do not use hydrogen GANs in medical applications and unless you possess the required knowledge. So handle with care and have a knowledge about what you're doing, and it's good to work with others who also have a knowledge, and that way you can spread the knowledge and make sure that people are covered that way.
Can I jump in?
It's Jumpin' Jalel. Jump in, Jalel.
Yes. Good morning, good day, everyone. In the teaching on the health, public health teaching of Mr. Keshe, once Dr. Area announced that the scientists find when the man died, he released energy equal to 18 Hiroshima bomb. And in the teaching of Mr. Keshe said, if you can tap to your aura, you have the whole energy source, what you like. and he said you can use one Hiroshima bomb energy from this 18. So you do not need anything else. It's all in your body. How you tap? This is your business.
Right. He was saying that the universe the man's body is a copy of the universe, and the communication system in the brain and so on is another copy of the communication system of the universe. So we need to dig deeper down into these, understanding the structure and the working of it to be able to reach that level. Apparently it's hidden or revealed in the health teachings, a lot of it.
Yeah, we were discussing that earlier, that before you came, Jalal, that the health teachings have mostly been removed from the Keshe playlists for legal reasons and so on. With Mr. Keshe requested that. So I'm wondering about the health teachings. They're mostly not available, I guess, right now, except maybe through the certain internet sources. Did you recommended one particular health teaching, I think, yesterday, Jalal? Was it the 8th?
The 9th.
The 9th? And that had to do with the brain or the head or something?
No, this is Mark. What I suggest that was for LS and MS.
Right.
But what I'm saying, it is in the also public teaching, but Mr. Cash brought it up in the private teaching.
Mentions here, attention, the tritium, deuterium, or hydrogen gases can be integrated into plasma systems for processing various imbalances with a very high efficiency. However, one should restrain from applying these gases in health application unless they possess the required knowledge. Again, it's knowledge-based. You have to possess a certain amount of knowledge just to get to the point of playing with them to start with. So that's sort of a self-initiation process.
It's like a injection. When Mr. Keshe is saying, sorry.
No, go ahead, Dan.
About a medical application, like a injection in type of making the two, like a hemoglobin in the emotional state. Mr. Keshe, when you're putting closer to the artery, to the blood, it's making, without the injection, it's a transfer of field. You have deuterium, you have CH3, you have amino acid from hemoglobin of zinc, hemoglobin of physicality, and you can making the transfer of field, the energy between, like a patch.
Yeah, if you know exactly what you're doing, I guess. Yeah. Okay. Anything else? Mark writes in the chat a quote from Mr. Keshe in the 292nd Knowledge Seekers Workshop. My home is the universe and my clothes are the knowledge I spread. M.T. Keshe. Okay. Anything else before we phase out here? Well, pretty quiet crowd here today. Other than earlier, we had some good interactions with, especially thankful to Gianni for his colorful and clear pictures. Very nice to see. It's good to have something to focus our physicality eyes on sometimes.
The white flower that he showed there, I don't know if that was from the strawberry plant or something. It definitely looked like it had a brightness to it or an aura to it. But then I was saying it was sort of against the lighter green leaf in the background, and that may have been illuminating it or something. But it definitely had a very joyful appearance. It stood out.
Yeah, well, if you look up bloom, photographic bloom, then you can see how that can happen quite easily. But it does, it actually, you can use certain filters and capture the UV and infrared that are given off by plants. And they have a, like, for example, bumblebees and hummingbirds are able to see into the ultraviolet range that we can't see. And they're looking for certain plants that have that ultraviolet range. And we don't even know, it might look pink to us, but to them, it's like glowing, glow in the dark pink, really strong. And they know to go to that one because it's emitting those fields that they can recognize. And it can be very precise for certain insects. They'll pass by certain plants that are one color range and go directly to one that's their preference. Skywalker says we can talk about the mag grav in the car. Okay, what would you like to talk about that? Or does anybody else would like to talk about that? I can't say much about it myself. I don't have a mag grav in the car. But there's quite a few testimonials in the testimonial site about such things. No takers?
Rick,
Yes?
bueno, y John, no tengo McGrath en el auto. ¿Está John?
Yeah, I don't have a magrav in my car,
Pero he utilizado el GANS.
but I have used the GANs in my tires, in the gas and en el aceite del motor también,
Sí, ya lo he puesto.
and also in the oil of the motor.
Y también el deuterio en las ruedas.
And the deuterium GANs in my tires.
Y he oído que muchos utilizan el McGrath que lo conecta en la batería.
And I've seen many person has used a magrav connected to the car battery.
Pero nosotros hemos nanocubierto todo el coche, que se llama el dragón.
But we haven't done this. We have managed to nanocoat the whole of the car with this process.
Lo hemos utilizado para crear un medio.
I call him Dragon, and we use him to create a medium.
No para pagar menos gasolina.
Not to spend less money on gasoline.
Pero la consecuencia fue que no tenemos que llenar el reservor de gasolina.
But the consequences were we haven't got to fill the tanks as often.
Así como lo sentimos, como lo siento yo,
As I feel it,
es más ligero
it works in a much faster way,
y como es un coche de off-road,
and as it's an off-road car, a Jeep,
en la montaña sube sin esfuerzo
it climbs a hill with no extra force,
y a veces sin tocar la aceleración, la
and
pedala,
sometimes even without touching the accelerator,
que antes no he podido lograr eso.
which I have never managed to do this before.
Pero para mí el más grave es todo lo que hemos hecho, pulverizar por afuera, por dentro,
And I have managed the Magrav force in the car by spraying the whole inside and out of this car.
y hemos hecho lo mismo que hemos hecho en el invernadero,
It's the same as what we have done in our greenhouse,
en el laboratorio,
in the lab,
con las paredes,
with our walls
y
and roof,
hemos obtenido el mismo resultado.
and we have obtained the same results. Yes, le comento lo de la temperatura.
Si quieres,
He has managed to keep a temperature from between 17 to 23 degrees centigrade with up to 18 degrees below zero outside. And he doesn't close a window, which he always leaves open because he smokes inside the place.
yes, y de alguna manera hemos hecho un McGrath de la casa, del coche, del invernadero, del oasis, creando un medio
In some way, we have managed to create a Maghreb with our home, our car, and our garden,
pero no para ahorro de energía,
but not for saving energy,
solo para crear un medio donde nos podemos sentir mejor.
but only for having a media where we can feel ourselves in a much better way.
Y gracias, Skywalker, por la pregunta.
And thank you, Skywalker, for your questions.
Right, and Sky, you can also, if you enter into the private teachings, you'll find some extensive knowledge shared by Hadal in the French group and also Vernie in the Philippine language group on the use of a lot of this with automotive.
Yeah, he has a further question. Why not use LPG gas, liquid propane? gas with mag-rev or GANs or natural gas in the car. Yes, you could. Not sure how, but you'd have to have a car that runs on that first, I guess. It's a bit
Yes,
of a
you have to
conversion
install.
process.
You have to install a gas tank in the car, specially installed for this.
Yeah, special carburetor and the whole system. I just worked on one a couple of days ago, actually.
Bernie has talked to us quite a bit about all these modifications.
Yeah. Someone asked in the live stream, great presentation. On another note, does anyone know the stock symbol yet, or has it not been released to the public yet? I don't think that's been released to the public yet. Hopefully on the Knowledge Seekers workshop tomorrow, that will be presented. We're keeping our fingers crossed and hope to see that. It takes time for these processes to unfold sometimes. Okay, anything else? Or shall I wrap it up? It's hard to get a squeal out of this crowd. Okay, maybe we should call it quits for now. And it's been 3.5 hours, so it's been some interesting things shared, and hopefully you enjoyed the show. Alrighty, let's end the Wednesday, September 11th, 2019 presentation of the Keshe Plasma Reactor Group. And we'll see you same time and place next week. All goes well. And also tomorrow, that's Thursday at 9 a.m. Central European Time for the Knowledge Seekers Workshop, as usual at that time and place. Mr. Keshe has talked about going to only 300 Knowledge Seekers workshops, so we only have a few more left to go before the that potential transition. Alrighty, everyone. Thanks for attending, and we'll see you next time around.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you for co-hosting John and Mark.
Thank you for translating, John. Very nice work.
Yeah.
And Gianni's presentation, very beautiful. And we're going to see many more coming in the future very soon. All elevating. Beautiful work.
If his garden keeps elevating, it'll be 10 meters over the neighbors, and he'll be looking on from the top of a mountain or maybe higher.
It'll be Jack and the Beanstalk.
Yeah, maybe that's the way it works.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Mark. Thank you all. I love you.
Thank you, Gianni. You too.
Es un placer, Gianni. Gracias a vos.
Yeah, there was another phrase, Rick, out of that workshop, but you know, Mr. Keshe encouraged us to listen to it at least 100 times. But he said, people ask me to show magic, you know, and he said, just in his words alone, They're constructed in a certain way and put together in a certain way. There's a certain area in that workshop where he said this, where it's even meant to elevate certain souls where the other souls didn't get elevated out of it somehow. So he says, I'm showing my magic in the words and in the what he's putting together there, and you don't even see that, he said. It's
Yeah.
very deep, very
Oh.
deep.
Yeah, it reaches people on different levels. So depending what you're able to hear, and it changes from time to time. So hearing it several times can initiate a different way of hearing it. All right. Well, enough philosophizing for tonight, I guess. And get your saucers ready for next week and get them out of the garage. Time to dust them off and get them into action here. Like to see some action shots. just to know that it's out there. All right, thanks everyone. See you next time.
Goodbye to you all.